Hi, this is David, and I just wanted to come together to see if maybe we could do a little Bible study, even though we're not together anymore. The fact that we can't come together physically doesn't necessarily mean that we can't be together, at least in this day of technology, electronically. So I thought maybe we'd do a little Bible study together. Nothing major, nothing big, nothing super deep, but a serious Bible study. I don't want to spend 30 minutes a day on this, but I thought maybe what we do is spend 5 minutes a day, and we just go really slow, and however long it takes, it takes. So that's the game plan. What I want to do today is start on a Bible study on the book of Colossians. So Colossians is a book written by Paul, and that said, what I want to really do today is start with a background. Let's start with a background of what Paul was doing when he wrote the book of Colossians. Why did he write it? To whom was he writing? Where was he writing it from? When did he write it? Let's get the background, let's get the setting on this, so that way when we read the book, and we start in the actual chapter 1 tomorrow, we'll have a good understanding of why Paul was writing and where he was writing from, things like that. So to start off with, it was written by Paul, so he's the who. Paul's the great apostle of the faith. He wrote many of the letters and books of the New Testament. So we know a lot about Paul through those books and through the book of Acts. And Paul was writing at this time around the year 60 to 62, give or take. Now that would have put him towards the end of his life, because we recognize that Paul actually died probably around 64, 66, 67, somewhere in that time frame. So 62, 60, he's been doing this work for a long time. We assume he started maybe in the late 30s. So he's been doing this for 30 years, give or take. And he writes this book at that point. And he's writing to the church at Colossae. Now, notice I've said the Church of Colossae. That's how I pronounce it usually, but that's not how I'll always pronounce it, because if you look it up, you'll see that actually some people say Colossi, some people say Colossi, some people say Colossae, some people say Colossi. So there's lots of different ways of pronouncing this. And if you actually check with the scholars, what they say that it's Colossi or Colossi or Colossae. Or in other words, they don't know. It's one of these ways of pronouncing it. So I'm just going to say most of the times Colossae. Occasionally you'll hear me say Colossi. I'm talking about the same city. And basically it's a city in Turkey today. Back then it would have been called Asia Minor. And in that area, it really wasn't a large city. It was a very small city. In fact, it was pretty much a little town outside of two more important cities, Hierapolis and Laodicea. So here's this little town kind of between these two bigger cities, and Paul's writing to them. Now, Paul's never actually been to Colossae. He's never been there. This church was planted by someone else, a man named Epaphras, and we'll get to that when we get into chapter 1. But we'll recognize Paul's never been there, but he's writing to them because there's some false teaching going on there. He's concerned that this false teaching is going to come into the church and send them in the wrong direction. So he wants to write to them preemptively, if you would, to help them understand what is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is not true. So that's the who. The who is Paul writing to the Colossians. The when, 60 to 62, near the end of Paul's life, really, from prison, because this is one of his prison epistles. And he was writing this actually from a prison in Rome while he's writing this. So those are the things, those are the background settings. Now, why is he writing this? He's writing this because there's some false teachers coming and teaching the wrong thing. One of the things they're teaching is about who Jesus is. Paul wants to make sure that the people in the Colossians in Colossae know who Jesus is. He's not just a man. He's not just a prophet. He's not just a good person. He is God. So Paul's going to go into that. There's also going to be some conversations about the importance of Jewish feasts and festivals. How important are those into the faith? Are they necessary for salvation? There's other things like who should we be worshiping? Should we be worshiping Jesus? Should we be worshiping God? Should we be worshiping angels? So there's a bunch of things that Paul wants to address. Several things that the false teachers are bringing into the church, and Paul wants to stop that before it becomes something that becomes ingrained in the church. So that's the reason for the letter. That's what's going on as we start this Bible study. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll go through starting at chapter 1, verse 1. Thanks for being with me today. Looking forward to joining you tomorrow. Have a great day. God bless you.